Hey, everybody.
Hello.
We're back after a long break. How's everybody doing?
I'm
Great.
doing great.
Good.
Great. It
Good.
felt
Carrie,
long.
did you get your hair cut, Carrie?
No, it's my daughter told me that I needed to quit wearing my hair plastered to my head. So this is it's just wild looking. It's so this I haven't had it cut.
Is that natural curl?
Yeah.
I thought
It's
your hair was
wave.
really long.
I always
Would
assumed it was
you
really
put it
long
on?
too.
Yeah, no. I just would wear it, kind of my daughter just told me, she said, you just need to stop slicking it back. I was
Oh,
like,
well,
okay.
it looks very cute.
Cute.
Oh,
I think
thank you.
it makes her look younger.
It does.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you. Then I'm definitely going to have to keep wearing it like this.
Yeah, you're just rocking it.
Well, I appreciate that, Bubba. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks,
If
y'all.
people didn't know better, they'd think you were a teenager.
Maybe my exterior will finally meet with my interior,
Yes. That would be good for all of us, right?
I know.
All right. So, what's everybody been up to over their holiday break?
Well, I can tell you that I'm glad to be back in a routine. My routines during the holiday season, between Christmas and New Year's, just kind of, I still meditated and I still took my morning walk, but I was staying up too late and I was getting off schedule and things were just kind of, you know what I'm saying? It just got out of whack. And so now this is starting Monday. Actually, I've really gotten on a good schedule and I've been eating breakfast every day because I'm trying to, actually build up some muscle and some shape. So,
Well,
yeah,
My
I've been
holidays
posting
were
little
really
videos,
uneventful.
little shorts about, about what I'm fixing for breakfast to keep myself accountable and everything.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Well,
cool.
my sister came over for Christmas.
Oh, she did. How'd that go?
I'm thinking, oh God, how am I going to deal with this, right? So what do you think I did?
Acted like nothing was wrong? I don't know.
I went to the cannabis store and bought some gummies and giggled my whole day through it.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Nobody had a flipping clue. My son knew, and he just kept giggling too, right? So,
Oh my
Well, did you
goodness.
share them with him? Is that why he was?
no. He doesn't partake in anything at all. But he's in I think Salt Lake City right now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he went to Salt Lake City to visit a friend he was in university with in Japan, and then they took off to Las Vegas, and then they went to the Grand Canyon. And where they are exactly at this moment, I don't quite know, but he's supposed to be back on Tuesday night. So, sounded like he's having fun.
Well, hopefully. I'm sure he is. The young ones, they always seem to have fun no matter what they do. I remember those days very well.
Yeah. The funniest thing was his buddy, he's a computer programmer, right? So, of course, he puts his, they're on, what is it, Messenger with me, right? And I start telling stories, and he's like going to Tara, I can't believe your dad's talking to us like that. And he's looking at me, and I said, do you know why I talk like that? He goes, why? I said, so you don't bleep and do it. And I said, you seem to forget that your parents have already been there and done that.
Right.
So, it's kind of funny. I think sometimes I've noticed when I've been talking to some younger people in the coffee shop lately, the one thing they complain about the most is not being able to communicate with their parents well enough, which I find pretty sad.
Yeah, that is sad.
Right. But I do have one really good story for you. It happened today.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Shoot.
Okay. Not last year, I guess the year before now. I was doing this huge excavating job. We're doing perimeter drains. We built a addition to the house and did all these walkways and a big driveway and all this stuff. And a friend of mine, I know from the bike community, was having a real problem. He's been battling addiction issues for a number of years. So he finally gave it up, the drugs and the alcohol, but he couldn't get over the anxiety.
Mm.
And he was just having a son of a bee of a time. So I said to him, I said, I said, I got a cure for your problem. He said, do you? I said, yeah. You're going to drive down here from Duncan every day in that traffic, get over your anxiety and sweat it out.
Yikes.
He said, what? I said, yeah. And I was like 30, 40 degrees out and stuff, right? But we could only work maybe 4 or 5 hours a day. And then it got too hot. So he'd drive down, and in a week I'd pay him cash, and, he'd go home. But every day we'd sit and have lunch. I'd buy him lunch, and we talk about what he needed to do as far as his mindset, and for him to really understand the anxiety issue of it and the different components, nutrition and all this stuff. And so anyway, so today I got a phone call from him actually thanking me for basically what I did. And now he's finally almost at the end of what they call the red road in his with his ethnic culture, being Aboriginal, that he's just about there. And he's done a tremendous amount of work, taking in many, many people into the 12-step program. I think he's helped at least 15 people in the last year just to get sober.
Wow.
So, when he phoned me and said that, I really appreciated it.
Oh,
So
that's really cool.
he sucked it up. I mean, there was times when he was working, I'd be ask one of the other guys, I go, where the fuck is he?
That means so much though when you can help somebody.
Yeah.
But you know what? He didn't pack it in, and it was a real tough go for him, and like I told him, I said, I'm just not gonna let you give up. You're gonna show up. I said, you have to show up. I said, it's about your manhood. You gotta go. And sure enough, if the anxiety got to him too bad, I would just let him go home. The next day he'd work a little bit more. Next day a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. So yeah, so it's all good. He's got a good family, and his wife has stuck behind him for a number of years, and he lived a tough life. He grew up in the East End in Vancouver, if anybody knows what that's about. That's a tough town, and lots of tough things happen, right? So,
Vancouver, BC?
Yeah.
Yeah, not Vancouver, Washington.
No.
I'm like, I don't know anything at all about Vancouver.
I do. My husband and I did all our dating in Vancouver, BC.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the East End in Vancouver is a tough place.
Yeah.
There's a certain type of people that come out of there that are pretty hard, and there's a lot of pride with it, right? So, yeah, it's interesting. But anyways, that's my story for the day.
That's a good story.
Always
Yeah,
it
I think so.
Excellent.
Lan, what about you, Lan?
My holidays are really kind of uneventful, except for my one day that I spent with vegetarians and vegans, and some pushy cookie lady wouldn't take no for an answer on pushing all her homemade cookies on us.
Oh,
yeah, I did a venting video on my channel because I was so irritated because I had just got done sharing with her all that I had only eat meat, and we were at the Seventh-day Adventist church with my husband's cousins and stuff, and they were having a vegetarian potluck, and so we we're getting invited to eat. We knew ahead of time, so we just ate ahead of time.
Yeah.
And this couple that we were talking to, they were kind of interested in the fact that we're carnivores. And the woman, she even knew like Jordan Peterson and Michaela Peterson and all the health benefits. And I was telling her how much weight I've lost and all the health benefits. And she seemed really like, yeah, interested. And then like 5 minutes later, she's coming at us with this tin of homemade cookies and this disposable bowl. And like, we're like, no, thank you. And then she wouldn't take no for an answer. She sets the bowl down in front of us and she grabs her tin and she goes, here, this one, this one, this one. And starts fills the bowl up with cookies. I'm like, seriously? You just got done. I just got done telling you all these health benefits and how it's affecting me, and you're shoving cookies in my face. Yeah. So, but other than that, it was fine. Yeah. We do pretty low key holidays, so I don't have to deal with a lot of the temptations out there that a lot of people deal with. But I fiercely defend myself as well, because I don't want
my family knows how weird
Good for
I am,
you.
so they expect it.
Yeah, eventually, like it's just when you meet new people, and you
Yeah.
know, other than Dave's cousins, these are all people that we hadn't met before. So it's just kind of surprises me how people can like they will ignore the fact that I have my own dietary limitations. Like I wouldn't come to them with a platter of meat
Right.
and say, "Here, eat this. You'll love it." Right? But yet they can get away with doing that to me.
Right. Yeah.
So
I think a lot of people, they don't really understand. They think, oh, yeah, she's eating a lot of meat. That's really cool. But then they don't understand that you're not eating the other stuff.
Right.
They
And I
just think,
told them,
oh, she's just trying to eat a bunch of meat, you know?
I told them I only eat meat and fat and dietary animal fat. And that's all I eat. And of course, they have to do their whole, oh, you mean you don't eat salad? You don't eat no,
Yeah.
nothing.
It's the same people that'll say,
It doesn't sink
oh,
in.
but you eat vegetables, right?
Right.
And you're like, no, I haven't. I mean, like, I'm not saying I won't in the future, and I have been lately, actually, but during my strict carnivore phase, I was like, no, I don't eat any of that.
They can't.
Well, but you eat salads.
Right.
I'm like, no.
Right. Like, no, it's
but cookies, like meat. Occasional cookies.
No.
No.
No. Not sure how else to say it, but no.
So what about you, Carrie?
Well, my holidays were really good. I made my chili, which was no beans. And you know, it was a little bit ketovore, but it was delicious. I made that on Christmas Eve, and then everybody came over. Or I'm sorry. So everybody came over Christmas Eve, and my family, and they know how I am. They know that I don't eat anything else. So we did the chili, and then I went to my daughter's on Christmas Day, and you know, just basically ate. Well, it was actually a Christmas breakfast. And so I wasn't tempted to eat any more sweet potatoes like I did on Thanksgiving, but we had a Christmas breakfast and had bacon and eggs for my breakfast, and it was delicious. And so it was good. It was very low key. I just, like I said, though, I just got off my routines then in the days between Christmas and New Year's. I didn't go anywhere New Year's Eve. I just hung out at home.
Yeah, I actually went skating New Year's Eve for the second year in a row with my son Jack.
Ice skating or roller skating?
Roller skating.
Roller skating.
He's
Nice.
10, and I got him interested in roller skating when at the beginning of the pandemic, and he learned in the house. So, and he was just so frustrated the whole time, but he caught on really quickly. And then before you knew it, he was just skating all around the house, which I always did that as a kid too. So, you know, a lot of moms won't let you do that, but I'm like, go ahead, it's fine, you know.
Nice.
And I was doing it with him. So then we started going to the skating rink, and I hadn't been since I was like a kid. I mean, well, I say a kid, probably the last time I went, I think I was about 21 or 22, but I used to go every weekend, if not twice a weekend, from probably 6 years old, maybe even younger, 4 to 6, I guess, on. and on up into high school. And then I just kind of had other things to do with, boyfriends and friends and things like that, and quit going. But it comes back to you. It's a lot like riding a bike, It's at first it feels like, oh gosh, I'm not going to be able to get this back, and it comes right back if you just relax. And so that's what I
used to be the fun thing to do, is to go skating on the weekends. I remember like late 70s, early 80s, I would do that all the time.
Yeah.
And it was fun because it's like when you're kind of a teenage preteen, you want to go there and meet a boy, right?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
And wait till
that was always
skate so you
the
can hold their
couple
hand
skate.
while you skate.
That was always the goal, was
Yeah.
to have somebody to skate with on a couple skate.
You're checking people out, Yeah.
Most of us didn't, though. So
I got a question. Has anybody started doing something new?
As far as a diet,
I've started a plank challenge. So for the month of January, this is my very first time doing a fitness challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first started the carnivore diet, I tried a plank and I couldn't even get myself off the ground at all. And so I hadn't tried since then. So January 1st, I attempted my first plank since then, and I'm successful. And yeah. And so I'm like every day I'm doing a plank and recording, my husband's recording or my daughter's recording my time, and it's getting better every day, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
What about
my
you,
husband's
Kim?
been doing that. So I'm thinking about joining my husband trying these planks, because it looks pretty hard. I mean, he's not a big guy at all, and he's like, yeah, it's intense. But anyway, so as far as the diet goes, I have kind of transitioned to more of a I had transitioned to more of like a ketovore. And then I had an episode with the sauerkraut and green beans, and I ate way too much, and that was like my little cheat day or whatever, where I was cheating on carnivore, ketovore with keto. And I think it was just the sheer amount that I ate. I did not feel good after that. So after that, I was like, okay, it's World Carnivore Month. I'm going to go back to carnivore. But then I managed to talk my husband into considering trying keto. So now I'm like, okay, I think I'm just going to do like ketovore or keto along with him. Meat heavy, of course, because that's just how I feel best. But on strict carnivore, I really was kind of plateaued, which after reading parts of this book, it makes sense. But I still felt great. So, my whole reason for doing it was never like, I want to be the skinniest thing out there. It was more, I want to feel great. I want to get rid of a lot of these autoimmune type symptoms, and I want to get rid of my chronic candida. And I did get rid of my chronic candida. So that's a win,
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I'm doing.
And Carrie, besides the hair, what have you been doing?
Yeah. I have added in breakfast, and what's weird is like the first day I just had like a burger patty. I mean, I couldn't eat much of anything. I never eat breakfast, or I shouldn't say never, but rarely eat breakfast just naturally. And so then a couple of days I just had sardines. I didn't want anything else really. And for whatever reason, sardines seemed palatable to me. I didn't want like, beef or eggs or beef bacon or anything like that. And then now the last, couple of days, 3 days. Yeah. The last 3 days, then I've had eggs, like I'll make warm up a burger patty. I had done my meal prep, so I'll warm up a burger patty. Then I'll put, my egg, sunny side up egg on top, and then I'll have my bacon to the side. So I've been doing that. So today was day 7.
I love sardines for breakfast, by the way. I do it all the time. Especially
at work. Then I'm not so weird.
Easy.
I felt
never tried sardines.
Oh,
you
you have
need
to
to
try
do
my
that.
sardines. The sardines that I get, they're delicious.
They are.
They
They're
are-
good. I didn't think I had never had sardines before July of this past year. And that was one of my first videos I ever did on my channel because Dr. Berry was like, you need to grow up and, try the liver and the sardines, to get your vitamins naturally. So I was like,
Yeah.
well,
So
okay.
what brand are they, Kim?
Let's see here. I'll have to go get a package. Hold on.
Okay. All right. So
I get
Buffett,
a
did you do anything new this year?
Oh yeah, I can't wait to tell you guys when Kim's finished with their sardine search. I got something big to tell you.
Wow.
Yeah,
Awesome.
you probably kind of know what it is, but I'll tell you because I think the whole journey, like the food is one thing, right? The other thing is dealing with her thoughts and anxieties and stuff because of all these health issues I had, which I didn't know
Yeah.
until I was told, and then it started. My mind gets kind of, it just kind of makes it all worse, right? But what I did was I took a step back and took a look at, okay, what do I got to do to get my mind in order to refocus on the diet, the physical activity, and get rid of the depression and stuff like that. So I started going back to music.
Oh, good.
And so what I've been doing is I've been composing ambient music.
Oh yeah, I saw the
And
video you shared.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
so
cool.
what we've done is, and it's kind of by design, but a couple months ago, I think I released a video where we used a bunch of stock footage, like drone footage and stuff, and started telling a story. And I spent a lot of time in the actual editing of a video, like re-edited a video, reposted it, and it was kind of funny. It got the same views and viewing time than the original one. So, but I learned something from it. So I was trying to take, okay, what's the positive from this? And I was talking to my son. So what we did was we invested in another camera. We invested in a Zoom H6N audio interface that records sounds like ocean sounds and all this stuff. And we've invested in a drone.
Ooh, cool.
So Kim, I've been able to send her some clips. I think I put a little clip on the Instagram thing, but I've probably got, I don't know, maybe 4 15-minute videos that are actually just about finished and edited. I've already got a couple things registered to start some new channels. So as far as my regular channel, I'm just going to go back to talking 2 or 3 times a week for 15 minutes and putting it out there and kind of keep the editing down. And then, whichever is the best one, then what we'll do is we'll take it, re-edit it, and put it on another channel and add these things. And I don't want to use stuff that somebody else has done. So all the drone footage, all the photography, all the filming is going to be done by us. All the music and mixing and everything is going to be done by us. And then we're going to have a drone channel, and then we're going to have an ambient channel.
Nice.
And
Oh, that's
Awesome.
cool.
yeah,
People really like
so
that stuff too.
yeah, and so I think the last clip I sent you, I what I'll do is I'll be in the coffee shop and talk to complete strangers, and oh, I'm up to this, and kind of start bullshit and get people talking, and then I'll give them my tablet. I'll say, do you mind having a look at this and tell me what you think?
Yeah.
And they look at me because I'll have like my hoodie on, right, with skulls and ball cap, or might have my t-shirt on with my tattoos showing and stuff. And they look at me and they go, You did that? I go, yeah. You wouldn't have guessed it, would you? No. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Maybe a little I don't look as sensitive as I am or something. I don't know. Or deep or something. But yeah, I find it very interesting. And what's happened is, like yesterday, do you know where the Squamish Lagoon is, Lynn, over here?
No, my husband probably does because he grew up in that area.
Okay, well, I got up early and geez, I couldn't wake up, and I thought, well, I'll go to Cattle Point and get the sunrise and Mount Baker in the background because the weather's supposed to be really good. Well, I'm driving down the highway and the sun over towards the Olympic Mountains, I could see it as I'm driving down the highway. I go, geez, I'm really going to miss out here. So I went to the Squamish Lagoon. I was down there for 2 hours. Went home, had a nap, ate my lunch, and then I drove out to Jordan River, and there must have been 300 or 400 surfers at least there because the waves were coming in. And I spent, I think, 2.5 hours filming the waves and the sunset and these surfers. And, you know, I just sit there and I read because you can't leave the cameras, right? So I just sit there and read. And what I found is when I went into the doctor's office last time, my blood pressure had gone down. So
Nice.
I'm doing all this, I guess, good karma stuff. And he goes, what have you been doing? I said, YouTube.
It's all that mindfulness.
Yeah, it's all that mindfulness. And then, of course, you know, I'm reading something on stoicism or whatever. And when you're out in Jordan River, there's no cell service. So you know, you can't watch YouTube, right? You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all good. It's a lot of fun.
Well, guys, we have got to get started on this book.
Yes.
But here are the sardines.
Okay.
It's seasoned brand. You can get
Seasoned
them
brand.
in olive oil or not in olive oil. I love the olive oil. I eat olive oil on a regular basis, so it's good for me. The only thing that I don't like about these, I've always liked sardines and I've eaten them my entire life. My dad used to feed them to me when I was a little girl with eggs, like a little baby. So the only thing I don't like is that they don't have the bones. I'd like them to have at least the bones, but I mean, even the skin too, I think would be better, but they don't have the bones or the skin. So but they still have, you know, a lot of omega-3s, and that's really what I'm looking for from them. 1,700 milligrams of omega-3. So that's a big boost of omega-3s. You can get them at Walmart, Costco, Kroger. If you have Kroger, they're more expensive there, but Walmart and Costco are the two places I usually get them.
So with sardines with the bones, you just eat the bones too?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just like salmon. They just kind of dissolve, you know. They're just, I mean, I'm really picky about stuff and I don't even notice them really.
Yeah.
Like I just kind of mash them up when they have the bones. But I like these because anybody who doesn't like anything gross and but likes tuna, if you like tuna and or salmon, I'm not 100%. Like I'm kind of iffy on salmon. You know, I'll eat it now as an adult, but I never really liked it that much as a kid. But if you like tuna, you'll probably like these because they're, you know, they're not bad at all.
They're good beginner sardines.
Yes, exactly. And that's really what we're looking for, you know, to get people introduced to eating sardines. But anyway, we've got to get started on this book, y'all.
Yeah.
So let's see here. So the obesity code, we were on chapters, what was it?
18, 19, and 20.
Yeah, 18 through 20. Let me open up my book here. Anybody want to start us off while I'm trying to get my book open?
Well, I mean, let's see. So, I mean, chapter 18 is called Fat Phobia. And so, you know, it was interesting because, you know, they're talking about Dr. Ansel Keys and his, you know, they call him the giant of modern nutritional science, which is kind of scary, right?
Right.
Yeah, that I was like, ooh, that's a little much.
That's a lot right
We're
there.
like the most hated man nutritionally in history.
That's right. But it was talking about the transition between people utilizing butter to going into more of the margarines after World War II, being a shortage of butter. And I didn't know that that was what the issue was. But when I was reading about this, I thought, oh, well, that explains a lot about my growing up time, because my parents are Depression era,
Mhm.
they were. I mean, they're deceased.
Same.
And my dad was a World War II veteran, and they got married in 1946. And so it was like that was what when they started setting up household as a young married couple, and my mom was learning how to cook, that's what was these horrible, horrible butter alternatives.
Yeah.
And yeah,
So my grandmother was Depression era, but I think a lot of these things got passed down through, to my mom and she did some of the same stuff in our household because of that. Just to clarify.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So I didn't realize how much of a cultural thing it was, and what prompted the transition from butter to these horrible alternatives. But I don't even think I actually tasted real butter until I became an adult. I was raised on imperial margarine, which
Mhm.
was a horrible thing.
For most of my life, I didn't know that I didn't know that there was a difference between butter and shed spread. I
Yeah,
thought it was just butter.
I thought imperial was better. So yeah, it's kind of crazy when you look back on it,
Mhm.
but you don't know, right?
Yeah.
And
Like
Shed
that,
spread to this day, I love the taste of it. I mean, it has a really good taste, in my opinion.
Yeah,
But
they doctored it up, haven't they?
a lot
yeah,
of
they
salt.
sure have.
that's
Yeah,
all my parents eat is margarine.
yeah.
They won't switch.
It's
Oh,
because of the shortage,
yeah.
They started with that shortage. What year was it, Lynn? Did it say?
Well, it just talked about it was during World War II. Um, it I don't remember. I don't see that it says in 1951 was when Dr. Keyes really started drawing his attention to the studies, right? The low rate of heart disease in Italian laborers, talked about the Mediterranean diet, which was only like 20% of calorie, the fat was like 20% of calories. So it kind of goes over how he kind of came to the conclusions that he came to when he did this studying. But it was very, just like all these nutritional studies that we see, um, they don't really look at the other variables very well.
Right.
In these societies, they don't look at their sugar, they don't look at their processed food intake, and so they draw these conclusions about the fats.
Okay,
Or
I found a little
they
part
also
about it.
didn't factor in like when they were doing the studies. Like, for example, when Ansel Keys looked at the Mediterranean diet, this was actually post-war. And also, I think it was on the island of Crete. They were in Lent. And so at the time, they weren't eating much meat, but that was because of a religious reason in part. So, and another thing that I found fascinating in this chapter was that trans fats were counted in with natural saturated fat when they were doing these studies. And it was only later that they separated it out and realized that the natural saturated fats, because see, they made trans fats into a saturated fat, but they forced it by the chemical process. Whereas obviously the natural saturated fat comes with the meat. And so when they separated those out, they realized that the problem was with the trans fats.
Right. Another thing that it talks about interesting here is about how, there was this whole thing with connecting heart disease with fat.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting. They talked about how it became known that like heart attacks and strokes are predominantly an inflammatory disease rather than like high cholesterol and fat related. but even though that's been known for quite a while, it's taken so long to kind of change the thinking about fat in your diet.
Mm-hmm.
And, and also talking about the liver, when it comes to cholesterol, the liver manufactures 80% of the blood cholesterol, which is really astonishing. I don't know, like, I didn't know that. And having people realize that, like, cholesterol is demonized and it's associated with the fat that you intake, but yet only 20% of your cholesterol in your body comes from your diet. And it's like, when you think about it rationally, if cholesterol was really that bad for you, why would you be producing it all on your own?
Exactly.
So it's, the key building block and the membranes that surround all the cells in your body. It's vital that every cell in the body, the brain can't make it, so you have to actually, like, consume, the fat as well. But so this chapter was interesting because he does talk a lot about the history of how fat got demonized.
Mm-hmm.
So I did find one part on the margarine. It says that, let's see here. Designed in 1869 as a cheap butter alternative, it was originally made from beef tallow and skim milk. And let's see here. Butter manufacturers were not amused and marginalized margarine for decades through tariffs and laws. And then in World War II, there was a butter shortage, and most of the taxes and laws against margarine were repealed. Convenient, huh? Since butter was scarcely available anyway. This action paved the way for the great margarine renaissance of the 60s and 70s as the war on saturated fats gained ground. Ironically, this healthier alternative, chock full of trans fats, was actually killing people. Let's see. I think they changed the way they made it, though. It wasn't.
Yeah, they did.
Obviously, not made from beef tallow now.
Yeah.
Well, it probably would have been healthier if it was made out of beef tallow.
Yeah, it sure would have.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Trying to find. And then I also found it fascinating. Well, I've heard this before, but basically he says that, it's kind of pointless for people, not that we think that cholesterol is what causes heart disease anyway, but high cholesterol levels, low cholesterol levels, if you don't eat much dietary cholesterol, your body will make it anyway. So
Right.
it's not like you're, it's not like you're going to hurt yourself eating cholesterol, which we all know that, but it still amazes me that this is not common knowledge.
I know.
And it's out there in the studies. It's literally there in black and white.
Well, and just like everything we've discussed through this whole book is the studies, that don't support their hypothesis often are not even published.
Yeah.
And it's really
Which is criminal.
Mm-hmm.
If you do a study and you don't get the result that you want and you don't publish that study, I mean, it's just lying, and it's just so unethical. And
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how they can be allowed to do that.
Yeah. Well, this 7 countries study that is often quoted as the big, defender of fat and heart disease being connected is really, it talks about that in the book. And, how they didn't even factor in the variables of the sugar. And,
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Fung says the higher sucrose intake could just as easily explain the correlation to heart disease as Dr. Keyes himself acknowledged, but you don't hear that, right?
No.
Yeah.
And so, he himself even acknowledged that there were other variables that could explain it. So, and then they talk about how this whole concept of nutritionism started, where they started reducing fat to the the food to the macronutrients, and they kept subdividing them further. And they said it kind of ignores the complexity of food science, and it kind of simplifies too much, categorizing food. And there's so much in each item of food that can be beneficial. And Yeah, so it's kind of interesting just the way nutrition, the science developed over the years.
And by the way, I just Googled this. I kind of had an idea of what it was made out of, but I just didn't want to leave that and just drop it with us talking about how it was originally made from animal fat, but margarine today is made from vegetable oils, including corn, cottonseed, safflower, soy, and sunflower.
Oh, joy.
So, all the goodies.
Plethora of good stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my day spent with my vegetarian, the cousins, I was asking, about the fats that they consume. And, she said that they use the butter replacements that are full of seed oils, and I just said, you know how bad that is for you, right? And she goes, yeah, I know. But, it's
Wow. So she just acknowledged it. Yeah, it's horrible. But we don't want to use butter. It's got animals in it.
I know. Well, and honestly, when I talk to her, she's wonderful. We love them. And, I'm not going to like push this down their throat or anything, but, she's very open when I mention how there's unhealthy aspects to the food that they eat. She even mentioned to me before we left that, maybe she should try the meat thing.
What? Up in the Seventh-day Adventist church?
Yeah, well, not every Seventh-day Adventist is vegetarian,
I know.
but she has never eaten meat in her whole life. So
Wow.
I have it. They occasionally eat fish. I just encourage her to eat more fish. And
Yeah.
I
mean, you have to meet people where they're at,
Exactly. Yeah. No, and I told her your gut would not, if you even wanted to do that, you'd have to go very slow because her gut has never experienced meat in her life. So, but yeah, so that was interesting. But let's see. So yeah, they talked about omega-3, omega-3s and getting the omega-3 versus the omega-6s, and a lot of these horrible oils and replacements for the animal fats are very like high in omega-6s. Yeah. Which is not good. It's important to get the omega-3s.
Yeah. I think they also say that there's something to like having more of a balance to the omega-3s to the omega-6s, because you definitely do need some omega-6s, but pretty much anybody, at least in North America for sure, is not at a danger of not getting enough omega-6s.
Right.
We're definitely getting way more than we need.
Right.
So
I wanted to read this part because I just, every once in a while he says stuff that just I put yuck in the margin next to this. It says it's actually a minor miracle that vegetable oils are considered healthy at all. Squeezing oil from non-oily vegetables requires a substantial amount of industrial strength processing, including pressing, solvent extraction, refining, degumming, bleaching, and deodorizing.
Ugh. Yeah,
I know.
Big yuck.
And this is what the majority of the food out there that people eat is. There is some vegetable oil in most everything, and then we're not even talking about like the other, like the sugars, like high processed, like, high fructose corn syrup and all the other stuff. These are just the oils, and those processes that they go through are just like, yuck, pretty bad. Yeah. So there's definitely not, it's not healthy at all. Let's see.
Yeah, and then just to mention too, to add on to that, in the Framingham study, margarine was associated with more heart attacks. So that was just one of the studies that he mentioned. He also had talked about the Nurses' Health study as well. But yeah, so basically, but because there again, because the saturated fats were lumped in with the trans fats, that distinction wasn't made until it was separated out. So it's very important.
They didn't see any link with saturated fats to heart disease at all.
Right.
And then actually they found in the 10-year study in Oahu, I can't even say it, Oahu, Hawaii, they found a protective effect of saturated fat on stroke risk.
Right.
The 24-year follow-up data from the Framingham study confirm these benefits. So there have been multiple studies that have shown that there's actually a protective effect for strokes, at least, with saturated fat. And you know, why do we not hear about this?
Yeah.
Because there's
Why?
no money in it.
Well, imagine
Well,
all
because
the
it goes
products.
against their original, or their original theory, and they don't want to go back and say, "Oh, sorry, guys, we know that we've killed, thousands and thousands of people with this, but by the way, you should probably do the opposite of just about everything we've told you for like the last 50 years or so."
Yeah, and all the food manufacturers would have to come change their formulas, their recipes. I
Yeah.
don't really want to call them recipes, more formulas, because it's so artificial. But even though, like, the distinction between artificial trans fats and natural trans fats, because there is natural trans fats that are found in foods.
Yeah.
And they're found the natural trans fats were not believed to be harmful to health. It's really just the artificial trans fats.
When we start trying to make a bunch of stuff and, become chemists and, use our chemists to whip up a bunch of stuff to consume it, it's not a good thing. I don't know why we haven't learned that. And, if nothing else, I would like for my children and my family and my friends even to understand that, if you would just get in your kitchen and cook some stuff with real ingredients, you're going to be so much better off, even if you don't do a keto, carnivore, even low carb diet, just eating natural ingredients.
Yeah.
So
real food.
I just wish that people would do that. But
did any of you ever see that documentary called King Corn?
I haven't.
No.
It was interesting. And it's kind of maybe 8 or 10 years old, but it part of it, they went through into this, well, they were able to sneak into this place where they make high fructose corn syrup. And they had a really difficult time getting permission to even go into any of these manufacturing places because they said the government doesn't want people to know everything that goes into making high fructose corn syrup. But they were able to get into one manufacturer and show the process. And it was absolutely astonishing how you take corn and turn it into high fructose corn syrup, just the number of steps and the chemicals and the processing. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's pretty eye-opening. I don't know if anybody would ever, and I'm sure they do that with all of these vegetable oils and the different products that go into the food, the processed food.
yeah. What's crazy to me also, and he mentioned this, I don't know if I kind of accidentally listened further on into the appendices, but I'm not sure where he mentioned this, but it basically he was talking about how you take all the nutrients out of some of these like grains and stuff, and then when they put them back in and they put them on the shelf, they call it enriched. So you think, oh, they're enriching it. You know why they have to enrich it? Because they literally stripped everything, all the goodness out of it to be able to make it shelf stable. And now they're putting a few sprinklings back in just so you feel better about it.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, that's like if you actually had the true wording of what this actually is on every product, you would never touch it.
Right.
I mean, who would if they actually told exactly what was involved in making a lot of this stuff,
Yeah, it's pretty bad. And then he said that a 2% increase in trans fat consumption was found to increase your risk of heart disease by 23%. And I'm sure that we have increased our trans fat consumption much more than 2%.
Yes. Probably 100%.
If not a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good thing
Okay.
you mentioned that because they just put a new Popeyes fried chicken by my house.
I would stay away.
Stay away.
Um,
Exactly.
so in chapter 19, let's move on along here. Now he's going to tell us what to eat. So, well, kind of.
Well, this is not carnivore, low carb,
No.
but it's good information still because not everybody's going to, if you're on carnivore, you're not necessarily going to stay on carnivore. I mean,
No.
if you want to just once you reach your health goals, if you want to try to add some things back and see, this is a really good guide for
Yeah.
what you might want to try to add back.
So,
Yeah.
basically he tells a lot of the same guidelines that anybody that's dieted pretty much in any way would use, with, eliminate the sugar, eliminate the snacking. He basically says there's no best diet, choose the diet that suits you. But, this is all assuming that you're just doing this diet for weight loss. I think most of us who have done carnivore are definitely not just doing it for weight loss.
Right.
It just provides so many other benefits. And of course, he's not talking about this because this is not his thing. We chose to read a book that he's not a carnivore and he's not coming at it from that perspective, but you can definitely utilize a lot of this stuff. Basically he says that you need to, feast and then fast for kind of equal amounts of time, to really achieve weight loss. He says you can still feast, but go ahead and fast, fast for 24, 48,
Yeah. Although he is very, very staunchly against sugar.
Yes.
That's one of the things, he said asking how much sugar is acceptable is like asking how many cigarettes are acceptable.
And he said carbs should be enjoyed in their natural form.
Yes.
So in other words, if you're going to have any carbs, you need to have the vegetables or you need to have whatever it is the way nature made it.
And I think that's the same as most of the keto crowd, which carnivore fits into that,
Yeah.
We've all known that,
Yeah. Yeah. Although he did talk about dark chocolate and the benefits of dark chocolate, as long as it's more than 70% cacao and just in moderation. He did say that it does have health benefits. It can help reduce blood pressure, insulin resistance, and heart disease. So, I mean, I do know some people who are basically carnivore that do occasionally have a piece of dark chocolate.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. I don't. I would probably eat the whole bar.
So does that mean those peanut butter cups at Starbucks and the dark chocolate is okay?
I don't know.
No.
Do you know what they put in it?
I don't know, but they sure taste good.
Yeah, I bet they do.
Yeah, that's
the tasting good has never been a question.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're not arguing.
All this garbage tastes good. It's
yeah,
it's not like we want to do this. We just realize we just realized that we've not done the right thing for most of our lives, most of us.
Yeah. So. And he also really emphasizes the not snacking. I mean, he kind of summarizes a lot of the stuff that, like you said, Kim, that he said throughout the book, but he says, don't eat snacks, period. No. Let's see. And, it's interesting too, just bringing the attention to breakfast. I know you're talking a lot about breakfast, Carrie, and about all the different things that people, he said breakfast in this, in our standard American diet is basically dessert. It's not really a meal. It's just an extension of dessert, which is true. People eat pastries and bagels and sugared cereals and like high carbs. And even I remember when I used to eat oatmeal, I'd put brown sugar on it and like sometimes maple syrup and, sugar it up.
What does everybody eat for breakfast now?
I don't usually eat breakfast.
Kim? Can't hear you.
Sorry,
Kim.
I'm trying to get my child in the shower because we have group lessons tonight.
Oh,
So I usually don't eat breakfast. If I do eat breakfast, I usually eat like scrambled eggs and like sausage, or scrambled eggs and bacon, or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
What
Now
about
that
you,
I started
Kim?
eating breakfast, it's burger patty, egg, but beef bacon so far, and once in a while, apparently sardines.
Well,
Cool.
what I normally eat now is I'll have like a cup of mixed organic vegetables and 4 eggs with it. Normally. But today I ate half a roast, so I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, we don't have to just eat like traditional breakfast food. You know,
Yeah.
No.
you can
Yeah,
eat
that's the
pot roast
sardines,
for
right?
breakfast. Yeah, if you want. But he was talking about how like in our culture we're so busy and people tend to just grab something and it usually ends up being like highly processed, a lot of carbohydrates for breakfast. So he says if you don't have time to eat, don't eat. Yeah. It's better to not eat anything than to eat the garbage.
Mm-hmm.
I've been trying something new lately. Being a nurse working 7A to 7P, I get my meal schedules all messed up. And then usually I don't eat supper until I get home. And that's like 8 o'clock or after. So I've been trying something recently. I've been waiting until about like 10 or 11 to eat my breakfast foods that I bring with me. And then I'll eat my lunch at 5 o'clock or so, 4 or 5. Sorry, my dogs are barking. Anyway, so then I can get home and just, I'm not really that hungry and I go to bed. And so that puts more time between my last meal and bedtime, which is good all around for, GERD and things like that. And then you just feel better, not going to bed on a full stomach.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. So I like the fact that he said coffee is protective against type 2 diabetes. He went onto a lot of stuff that coffee is good for.
I'm just I don't have a problem with coffee. I drink it on occasion. And actually, I mean, once in a blue moon, I would have green tea, although I haven't had it in a long time. I just haven't looked at the studies that he linked to see whether it was associated with, or, you know what I'm saying? Because there can be so many, it's kind of like with the apple cider vinegar. He was talking about that. That might be in the next section when he was talking about fasting. But anyway, it's like, does it really, like, how did you test this? And I would have to look at I'm going to have to say that I think it's probably like an association and not really a true trial where they tested it.
Even he says that coffee appears to promote against type 2 diabetes. And so you're right. It's probably the same type of study.
Yeah. It's like Dr. Berry says, if they say coffee may, do this, they could also, the opposite side would be coffee may not.
Right.
I mean, I usually drink 1 cup of coffee a day. I like it. It doesn't seem to, be detrimental to my diet or my health in any way that I can tell. However, I have noticed I'm a nighttime coffee drinker. I really like coffee at night, actually, and it doesn't bother my sleep at all. I don't know. I'm just built different, I guess. Must be the ADHD. But anyway, if I drink coffee too close to the time that I go to bed, though, sometimes I will have a little bit of, reflux.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the caffeine actually loosens this gastroesophageal sphincter, and allowing acid to reflux up a little bit more. So it's better.
But I think it's something about the coffee, though, because I'll drink lots of caffeine all the time. And I mean, I'll even have an energy drink, a few hours before bed sometimes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And I mean, it doesn't do me like coffee does. Like the
Yeah.
coffee will reflux. And I always just attribute it to the acidity, but I don't know. It's a guess.
It's probably a combination.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yes.
You guys, I should have mentioned it earlier and I didn't, but I'm going to have to get off in about 4 minutes. I have a hard
Okay.
stop today and I apologize for that, but,
Oh, no worries.
but
No
I have
worries.
a
Just
question though,
whenever
real
you-
quick. I've never exited a stream early before. Like, is there a way that I can just leave it on so that it would still continue on my channel, or would I just need to get out of it? Or do you have any idea? I mean, I'll just tell anybody who's
I don't
watching my
know.
channel when I exit, just go to somebody else's because I
I
don't
don't know.
know.
I was gonna say you could just turn off your camera and mute it. So
Okay, I'll
when
do
we
that.
end the stream, it'll just
If you
know
go
what I'm saying?
backstage, if you just go backstage, will it continue? Because I think that as long as you're in it, but even backstage, I think it'll still run on your channel.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Either one's fine
Oh.
though. If you want to just mute and
I'll just mute and
stop your
cam.
camera, and then once we
Yeah.
end the stream, it's going to end it for you too. So
Yeah.
that'll be fine.
Well, I've enjoyed this, and I'm just so sorry that I can't stay for the remainder.
Oh,
for
no
the
worries.
grand finale.
Yeah.
Well, but we're still doing the appendices next week.
Yeah.
So we'll
But
be back
we
again.
finally got to the secret, though.
Yeah.
We finally got to it after all this time, after all that build up.
Yes.
Yeah, I
exactly.
can't stay much longer either because my boys have their lesson. But
Well, let's just do a quick wrap it up then on the grand finale, chapter 20.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And then if you want to drop out whenever you need to, Carrie.
Okay.
And let's see.
Yeah, I've got about 2
chapter
minutes.
20 is when to eat. And then I thought that there was a neat quote in there. There's nothing new except what has been forgotten. Marie Antoinette.
Yep.
Yeah, I liked that too. Well, it's interesting too, because I mean, it's true, because he talks a lot about how fasting used to be just a known therapeutic thing to do.
Yeah.
And, how your body knows, like when you're sick, you don't want to eat, just like animals too. Then they don't feel good. They don't want to eat. And so fasting is a normal part of our history as people.
Yeah. And I think that we can often look to nature to tell what the good thing to do is. And by nature, I mean, even like dogs and cats, dogs being the most similar to us, I guess. If your dog doesn't come running when you give it some food, that's probably not the best food for you. I don't know. That's just something I made up. But it just seems to be true for me. Like the things that my dog comes running for, it's good for me. Like it makes me feel the best,
Yeah.
Gotta run, you guys. I love you.
Okay.
And I
Bye,
will see
Carrie.
you next week.
Yeah,
All
bye-bye.
right.
Mutant.
Yeah, just mute and turn off your camera
There you go.
And we'll continue on for your people.
Yeah. So I did like the part where he goes over individually how the different hormones are affected by fasting. And I thought he did a good job of explaining all of these things, because some of these things that he addressed are, like myths that surround fasting. Like, for example, that you will get like weaker and not stronger, which is completely does not play out, or that your body goes into starvation mode. That does not play out,
No.
or
that happens if you eat too few calories, though.
Yeah.
You're just totally abstaining from eating.
Well, he said that really only happens to like once you get below 4% body fat.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, starvation can happen, but most of us are far from that.
Yeah.
And don't have to worry about that. I mean, there was the one guy that did like 382 days of a therapeutic fast. And he, other than a slight elevation in uric acid, everything was normal as far as his labs. you know.
Yeah, and they say that actually, people are always so worried about, oh, they won't have any energy if they fast. If you did multiple days, you would just feel horrible and you wouldn't be able to do anything. And they say that actually the opposite is true, that
Yes.
you really get this sense of well-being while you're fasting. And that it reminded me of about 15 years ago when I had a coworker that she used to fast for 30 days 15 to 30 days at a time, and I thought, this woman is nutty, like there's something wrong with her. But she was onto something, and I
Oh,
just
yeah.
was
Well,
ignorant of it.
it's funny how a couple times, at least in this chapter, he actually said it's stupid. Like when it comes to the people's myths around it, around fasting. But he says that if it were a fact, that it was that fasting made you was like disadvantageous to us, it would affect our survival as a human species. He says if periodic starvation caused our metabolism to decrease, then we would have less energy to hunt or gather food. With less energy, we would be less likely to get food. So another day passes and we become even weaker, making us even less likely to get food, a vicious and unsurvivable cycle. It's stupid because that's not what happens. In the hunter-gatherer era, people did have the strength and the energy to go hunt, even though they were in a fasted state. So he kind of looks at like, okay, let's look at the reality of we wouldn't exist if fasting was not beneficial for you.
And also we wouldn't exist if our species, if humans had to rely strictly on their blood sugar for energy. We wouldn't exist because there have to have been times in history where people just couldn't get food,
Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah. And he talks about the myth that fasting will make you lose muscle and burn protein. He said that is definitely absolutely not true because your body takes from your fat stores, and it's only much, much later, if you get your body fat percentage gets below 4%, that it starts to draw on muscle tissue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there have been a lot of people, even in the carnivore and keto community, that I think inadvertently have taught wrong theories on some of this stuff. And it leaves you just being like, should I do this or should I do that? Or what, how should I combine these things to be the best, weight loss and feeling best and all that. And this clarified a lot of that for me.
Right.
It's just,
and the whole point,
it was
it
very
goes back to the
interesting.
whole point of the fasting is to have that period with your very low insulin.
Mm-hmm. The whole thing is having your insulin be low is at least as much as it is high or higher.
Right.
You want to have that balance of low periods of insulin. So, and in that way, keto is a fasting mimicking diet. That's why they call it that, because it does achieve that.
And he emphasized that that's going to prevent you from, like, it's going to help you actually break through those set points, because without the factoring in the timing of eating, then, people will lose weight and then they hit that set point and they plateau, but then they start gaining again. And that has been shown over and over and over again with any diet. And so this is kind of like the missing element. You have to, your body.
So that was one part.
Through.
I'm sorry.
Your body will break through the set point if you fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is one thing that I haven't experienced as much, though. Like, I have been able to keep myself, well, I can't say that. I did gain a little bit back. But I think that was like sheer amount of food that I was eating. But when I kind of watch the amount of food that I eat, it seems like I can maintain my weight, at a certain point where I feel like it's my body's set point right now. But maybe I need to use fasting to get past that. But I've not experienced a whole lot of like continued gaining, even when I quit keto before, I only gained so much back. I didn't ever gain back the whole amount that I lost.
Yeah. Well, I think that, when you eat higher fat and, low carb or no carb, I think that it lends itself naturally to intermittent fasting. Because it just, you're not hungry as much.
Yeah. Yeah, but my intermittent fasting is more of like, 16 hours
Right.
versus he kind of started the first one at 24 hours. Like
Right.
I think he said like 24, 36, 48 would be the ideal, like kind of the definition of intermittent fasting. Whereas I thought it was more, 16, 18 kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, he even talked about 5 days of fasting and the benefits that come after, like the even the fourth and the fifth day. I don't know. One of these days I'm probably going to try a 3-day fast. Have you guys ever fasted? Like more than just an intermittent?
Not past 24 hours.
I haven't either. Yeah.
Not really.
I heard it's easier once you're like already in ketosis.
Mm-hmm.
Like I tried to do years ago and I wasn't carnivore at the time or even keto at the time. I tried to do a 3-day fast. I couldn't get past the second day. And I've heard this day 2 is the hardest, anyways, but I did hear that it's easier when you're already in ketosis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been so leery about doing that.
What is your concern about it?
I mean, it just doesn't feel right to me. To go past 24 hours, it just doesn't feel right. Feels like my body wants to eat, so I just eat.
Yeah.
But this book has made me consider, maybe I could go past it. I don't know. But anyway, guys, I can't stay much longer. I got a couple minutes and I gotta go.
Let me add something that I made too that you can show, because we have to talk about the next book. Now we're going to do the appendix next time, right?
Yes. So we decided amongst ourselves we were going to have everybody vote on the next book, but we just kept talking about it, and all three of us really were leaning towards this book. So I'm like, you know what? Like, we're the ones doing it. Let's just do the book that we want to do. Not that we don't care about your all's opinion, but this is the book that we wanted to do next. And I think it's a great book to choose considering the community that we're in and that Dr. Berry is one of the, foremost leaders of it. So this is the book we're doing next, guys. So
now I ordered mine. I think it was just yesterday. I ordered it on Amazon, and it's not going to be here until it says sometime between like January 15th to the 17th. But there is, if you have Audible, there's a free audiobook. And so, yeah, I mean, if you want to join in, order the book.
Yeah.
ASAP. Yeah.
So I have it on Audible, and I've already read it or listened to it. But I'll probably be getting it on Kindle as well. And then I'll definitely need to reread it because it's been a while. I've had it for a long time.
Yeah. I've never read it before.
Oh, you haven't?
I'm really looking forward to reading it.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. And maybe we can get Dr. Berry to come on and do a Q&A.
We may actually be able to do that. We may actually be able to get Dr.
We could ask him now.
Yeah.
And just let him know that we're going to be doing his book.
I'm in his group, his
cool. So you can ask him.
Membership group.
B-Dog said that Nisha said that Dr. Berry was doing an Audible book.
I'm sorry.
B-Dog said that Nisha said that Dr. Berry was doing an Audible book.
Which one?
I'm assuming. I don't know if it's
this
one.
Book has already been read, but it's been read by somebody else.
Maybe he's going to read it himself, or maybe.
Oh, that would be good because, I mean, you need his voice for this,
Yeah.
But it was during. I think it was it during I think there was like an earthquake or something, and he was supposed to go, instead of letting him go like to Nashville to record this, they wanted him to come to LA, and she was like, no. So,
Okay. Oh, so B-Dog said he's reading his own book for the Audible app. So that's nice.
oh, that's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So you can listen to it with his Southern accent.
Yeah. So Susan said she's in Dr. Berry's Mighty Network. That was what I was talking about, the membership, you know.
Cool. Cool.
All right. Well, guys, we have got to get off here. I've got to take my boys to their basically their band practice. And it's been really nice, you guys joining us for this each Sunday. And hopefully you will join us for our next book, Lies My Doctor Told Me, by Ken Berry, MD.
Yeah.
So are we going to do the same time, you think? Or we could talk about it. We can talk about it, but I mean, either that or maybe an hour earlier, but I don't think I don't know if that would work for everybody. So we'll talk about it and we'll see what works out. And if nothing else, people can watch us on the replay. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, guys, if you are interested in following anybody on YouTube, Lynn is at Midlife Carnivore. Bubba Rob is at Robert _ Bubba _ Baker, and I am at Nurse Kimberly Lane. So,
and Carrie is at
Carrie, I'm sorry, Carrie is at my metamorphosis with an O, metamorphosis. So you guys join us, and we will talk to you next week when we will do the appendices.
Awesome.
Thank you. Bye, guys.